and published 75 scholarly articles. He's also given 2 TED Talks, one in India, one in USA, back in 2013. He has designed and delivered soft skills program to over 1.2 million program. Was appointed Fulbright Specialist by U.S. Department of State. He's also the president of Blind Foundation for India since 1989 till present and has raised $7 million. He has B.Tech, MS, and PhD degrees. There's also an MBA. He has delivered 48 sessions at Atal Academy. He has various awards and medals. He has 6 medals for the quality and 4 medals for philanthropy, 60 awards for outstanding professional contributions, 40 awards for the lifelong selfless community service. He's also in World Book of Records and also Jewels of India Volume 2 book with 75 Indo-American personalities in 2023. As you can see, we have very esteemed, honorable speaker for tonight. We are thank you, Dr. Vora, for taking out your time from the busy schedule. And I hope everyone will enjoy the presentation tonight. Having said that, I'll have Dr. Vora take over and start presenting.
Okay, thank you, Aditya, for a very kind introduction. I want to thank Chandubai Mistry for his initial invitation to be presenting for the Pacific region ASQ. I want to thank the current director, Barry Craner, Aditya again for being the chair of San Gabriel, which is hosting this program for the Pacific region ASQ. And my friends from ASQ around the world and others who are likely to join from India, Pakistan, Dubai, and Lima, Peru, if possible. Now let's take about 30 seconds silence for the victims of LA fires. It's a tremendous tragedy. Let's pay tribute to the people who are perished and those who are suffering from the natural calamity. And some of these is really sad. So let's take 30 seconds. And I'm just looking at my wristwatch here. Okay, let's hope and pray for the better times. And I hope none of our ASQ friends are affected by this problem and issue going on in the LA fires. Okay, so today's topic is extremely critical for all of us because throughout our life we have to manage the change. And that's the topic of how we sustain the change. So let me share the screen, and I want to make sure that I have the right things. Okay, every time we change the video. Yep. I believe the title slide is visible, Aditya.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. You can go on a mute, and what we want to do is make this session interactive. So I have about 3-4 breakpoints before we come towards the end for question and answers. And we will take your questions and comments through the chat box. Aditya, as a moderator, will help me with the questions, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So let's begin the journey. So the presentation has 2 parts. First, we will look at the change management principles. Once we have the foundation, we'll dive into the change management practices. And I would request all of you to pay attention to take two key takeaways from this session today, which can help you to take it forward when you are back at your workplace. So we will begin with the quotes on change and define what the change is all about. What is change management? Why and what? What are the three pillars of success for change management? Share with you a change management model. There is a father of change management, Professor Emeritus from Harvard Business School, Professor John Carter. His 8 steps for change. And how do we achieve the change management success with the help of leadership? We'll look at McKinsey's work on organization alignment, the 7S model, and briefly sector two, one in Egypt, one in Turkey, corporate 8 transformations in the US, professional societies, 2 here in the US, and 2 nonprofit in the US as well. I've been following Baldrige Performance Excellence Framework since '89 up to this time. And if you are all familiar with the Baldrige Framework, that is nothing but the transformation of a given organization. Now, the backbone for change management is the project management and risk management. I've been delivering courses on those since 2008. And the real impetus on the academic side came on change management when, for the Northern Illinois University here, we developed a 4 weeks program, certificate program for government officials from various ministries in Cairo, Egypt. And so 25 of them were chosen based on their ability to comprehend English and their position within the ministry, some reporting directly to the minister in the government in Egypt. So I was happy to deliver the first and the fourth module 1 week each in Cairo live. And then those 25 people, we had 5 teams. Each one of them had an assignment to complete a project, and I was coaching all 5 teams. And I'll be sharing one of the team's output, which essentially tells us how we can use change management for getting the best benefit for managing an agency within the government. So let's begin with a simple quote on change. The only thing that is constant is change. Nothing endures but the change. And I'm sure all of you agree with this statement because since we are born, we continue to change and evolve until the time we go back and meet the Creator. And this quote comes from Heraclitus, Greek philosopher. So keep in mind that the change is constant. Unless we are on the front end of the change, we can get run over by it. We need to be prepared, plan, and take advantage of all the changes coming our way for our own benefit and benefit to the society. The father of the nation from India, Mahatma Gandhi, said on the change that be the change you wish to see in the world. You cannot tell others to change unless you are willing to change yourself. And I'm sure most of you have seen this serenity prayer on change. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bear with me, I'm running through some cold here. Last night we were in a deep freeze here in Chicago area. So let's define the change. The change pertains to an organization or operations, and the goal could be to improve the organization by altering the work. Most of the time, it's the cost reduction at the top of the line, improving revenues on the other side, solving problems for customers, employees, operations, finance, etc., seizing new opportunities, aligning work with the strategy, and streamlining information flow. So, those are various areas through which change can be managed or change gets precipitated, and the change impacts the organization and people through processes where old processes have to be abandoned and new to be started, set up new system to measure the success, organization structure evolves to support the change, and the job roles are get redefined with the new skills and new priorities to manage the change. So, in nutshell, change management impacts the employees. It is the process, tools, and techniques to manage the people side of the change. And the change management helps individual to make successful personal transitions to adopt and realize the change. And this is very critical as it is about impact to the employees and how they manage the change and how they lead the change with the help of the top leadership. So, a change or a transformation journey is akin to going to Mount Everest, which means you have to do tremendous amount of planning, preparation, and training. And if you have done that, you are more likely to succeed in your mission of climbing the peak and safely return to the base camp. So don't take it lightly. A change journey requires a lot of effort, a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, and tremendous amount of training for the people who are part of the change journey. So let's take a look at some of the transformational change examples in the world. So 1801, as we know, steam engine was invented in UK. Telephone 1875, Alexander Graham Bell. 1902, radio came on scene. 23, television. 1929, Great Depression, stock market collapse. Fax machine 34, internet 1995, changed the world. Google search engine 98, iPhone 2007 by Steve Jobs. Then 2007, the financial bubble busted, global financial crisis. And then 2020, we had the major upheaval throughout the world with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all suffered through it. So these are some of the examples of transformational change. So at this point, I'll stop sharing and let's do some interaction. So Aditya, let me know if there are any questions or comments through the chat box, please. And all of you who are listening in, please be active. Learning happens by two ways, give and take, rather than one way. I keep talking and then at the end of 2 hours, I'll be exhausted. So please help out. Any questions or comments, please, for the items we have covered so far? Yes, the presentation will be shared. Aditya has the copy. Keep typing in the chat box your questions or comments, please. Okay, so Akhilesh has a question: what really drives this change? It is the leadership which has to initiate the change and drive the change by remaining totally visible. And we will come to it very shortly with the importance of the leadership. And we have seen the examples when the leaders are absent, the change fails. And to manage the change, the leaders needs to be upfront and totally visible throughout the change management journey. Next one, please keep going. Would you equate change with innovative mindset? Yes, that's part of it because change means you are doing something new, and that's where the innovation will come into play. And if you can do it successfully, you are going to have the great results. Continue, please. Channubai, any question? So next question from Parvez: how much does change rely upon the environment or circumstances rather than by lead or person? So the leadership, as I mentioned, is the critical and key thing. They can manage the environment or the circumstances unless they are fully engaged, giving support, giving their involvement, commitment, and support through and through. The environment or circumstances will become sideline because they can make difference by taking charge, impacting the and creating a right environment and right changing the circumstances for the people to understand the change and manage the change. And that's what we'll be coming to very shortly. Channubai, any questions or comments so far? Your vast experience in the field, the previous RD from Pacific region in ASQ. That's a good comment, Akhilesh. Everyone talks about if only or I would want to, and hardly ever to, I have to, unfortunately. And this again gets back to the culture of the organization. If the leaders are just talking, not walking the talk, that's what you get. I would love to do it if somebody can do this or somebody can do that, rather than taking responsibility and taking charge. Okay, anyone else? If there's a comment, I'll take one more minute. If not, we'll get back to the presentation. And we have enough time to do the interaction as well. And thank you for those who made the comments, Akhilesh mainly and others. Okay, I'm closing the chat box. Back to sharing the presentation. And every time I have to motion in video for sharing. Okay, so this is very fundamental slide. A leader must ask 5 questions at the beginning of the change journey. Question number 1, why are we doing this? Question number 2, why are we doing this now? And number 3, how this is going to impact me and my organization. These 3 questions and answer to that will allow the leader to gauge the organization's readiness for the change. And the additional 2 questions, number 4, how will we work together to make this happen? And what do I need to do to prepare myself? Will give the leaders additional ideas about how much people are capable to drive the change. So, lot of time leaders do not ask any of these questions. They just simply delegate it to the next level stating that go ahead and do this within the organization, and then they are absent. That change journey is going to be failed. So it will be a failure guaranteed. Unless you do all the steps properly, people are not going to line up to help you to carry out the change. So, pillars of success for change management, there are three of them. Leadership is the first pillar where leaders create and lead the change. Second one is the talent management, where employees implement the change as per the direction from the leaders. And use the project management as a backbone to facilitate the change. So you need to have the right leaders leading the change, all people getting excited, employees to carry out the change, and they use project management discipline to ensure that the change is successful throughout the organization. Now, since we talked about three pillars, let's look at the leadership in nutshell. So leadership is all about influencing, igniting, and inspiring ordinary people to do extraordinary things. So leaders influence, ignite, and inspire people to do extraordinary things. And their role is to define the purpose, create the vision, identify key strategies, allocate right resources, and achieve results through people. And very critical, leadership is about walking the talk, put it in practice what you say. So people pay attention to what you do, not what you say. So don't walk the walk, do walk the talk. So we quickly learn some leadership principles from the life of an eagle, very short, interesting YouTube. So please pay attention and take some notes. Great lessons in leadership from the life of an eagle. And this is what it takes to be a leader. And that's what is required for successful change management journey, to lead the effort from the front rather than delegate it and then disappear. Second item is the talent management. And in order to carry out the change, you will need people to do effective teamwork. And there is a great book by Patrick Lencioni. I would highly recommend it for you to pick up a copy. Generally, you can get a second-hand copy at a fraction of a cost. He has written about 10 books. These are all leadership fables, 200 to 250 pages. You can read it on a plane traveling for a distance between hour or 2 hours. You can finish the book. It's at the end of the book, there is a workable model which you can apply right away at your workplace. So he talks about 5 dysfunctions of a team. So I'll briefly walk through them. First is the team is only functional when there is a trust among members, and that trust can be developed when you share your strengths and weaknesses with each other. So you need to be vulnerable. Normally, there is a artificial harmony created, and there is a fear of conflict. So take an example: 5, 6 people in a team discussing some ideas. One or two people loudmouth are talking, others are keeping quiet. Based on limited input, decision is made to work on something. Those who were quiet will make a parking lot meeting saying, "It is not our idea, let them do what they want." So they create artificial harmony. In fact, all 5 to 7 members who are there, they need to speak up for the important topic. Based on collective input, you decide on a single issue which they are all going to work upon and create constructive conflict, not artificial harmony. Third, when a team lead assigns the task or a subtask, there should be a crystal clear, no ambiguity. It should be clear so that person can commit to getting it done. And when the task or a subtask is assigned, hold each member of the team accountable for the results, because sum total of everyone's input and output will become the final output of the team. And sometimes people have a status or ego, so they forget why they are on a team. They don't work on their issues and they are just sitting there for the glory. So that's just for the fun. So if we have a team leader when the team is formed, first goal is to ensure that none of the 5 dysfunctions are present in the team. And if they are present, take the remedial action to remove them. Once all the dysfunctions are gone and team is fully functional, then you are firing on all 8 cylinders. So here we will see a beautiful YouTube power of teamwork inspired by the Blue Angels. So let's enjoy that with a lot of great lessons.
Osmo, updated Windsor 240 at 10. We own the airfield and airspace. You are clear for takeoff. Have a good one. Thanks. Oh, clear for takeoff. Hello, ready to go, boss. We're clear for takeoff. The wind 240 at 10. It's all wing crosswind. Check your fucking break off. Check your check your nose sparing on. Maneuver 9 minutes after 20. Copy. Coming after on 9. Let's roll. Oh, that's hard. Chicken those are staring on maneuver 9 ASQ. Copy. Coming up here on 9. Let's roll. Let's roll.
So the effective teamwork is essential to carry out the change successfully. Without the teamwork, effort will fail. And the last item is about the project management. And I'm sure all of you know that the worldwide research shows 25 to 30% of the projects are successful, the rest fail. And if you are in the government sector, only 20%, 1 out of 5 are successful. So to overcome the issue of failure and achieve 100% success in your project, beautiful article from MIT Sloan Management Review, how project leaders can overcome crisis of silence. So there are 5 of them. Let me take one at a time. So the team needs to plan around the facts, not at the whim of the person or a lead or a leader saying do this and do that, which is just they dream it up without understanding what it really takes to get it done. So this is where team leader working with the members of the team looks at the facts and figures and ensure the proper planning to make sure that the project is doable and is not a pipe dream. Project sponsor should provide support throughout the life of the project. Third, the team should be faithful to the project management process. And let me make a comment. Project management should become a compulsory requirement for coursework for each and every individual in any domain they enter into in discipline in the academic side. And once they are there at the workplace, if they don't have the background or training, they should be given training in the project management. The team should honestly assess the progress and the risk, and all team members must pull their weight in order to bring the results home. And all these 5 crises of silence, if the project leader can manage it and overcome it, they have a great chance of achieving 100% success on the project. Now we will look at the history of project management just to get the background. Slightly longer YouTube, but it's very interesting way that it's put together. Starting with pyramids in Egypt, which were using project management in their own way. So let's enjoy that.
It's as if something were calling. A voice from the past, like some sort of inherited memory.
So the project management enables and ensures success of a change management journey. And as we saw, change management is not successful because underlying project management is only good for 20 to 30% of the projects. So let's take a look at the change management model. First item is we need to determine the need for change. You don't keep changing unless there's a urgency, sense of urgency to make a change. Prepare and plan for the change, implement the change, and sustain the change. So this is a complete journey. Determine the need, prepare and plan, implement the change, and sustain the change, which is very critical because doing something which is not sustainable is not going to give you full benefit. As I mentioned, Professor Emeritus John Cotter's 8 step of change. This aligns with the previous slide we just saw, a sense of urgency and creating the guiding coalition, that's the determining the need, planning, develop a vision and strategy and communicate the change vision. Implementing the change is the empowering employee for broad-based action and generating short-term wins, and sustaining the change is the last two items, 7 and 8. Consolidate gains and produce more change, anchor new approaches in the culture. So those of you who have a serious interest, you can pick up John Cotter's book, Leading Change, second edition. These are relatively inexpensive books, so you can definitely buy it, and second hand will be even cheaper. Now, when you are on a project, something unknown you are working on, risk is part of the project management. So there is another great reference for the risk management. Tom Kendrick, I've used his third edition in my risk management courses. Excellent resources to leverage and harness. So the change management success comes when 3 C's are working in concert. So first one is CEO, the top leader in the organization. Second one is CPO, Chief People Officer. And third is the CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Generally, CEO and CFO are active. CPO is on the sideline. So ensure that for a given change journey, you'll need all 3 C's to work in concert, in synergy, to ensure that the change is led, it is managed with the right set of people by bringing the right talent. That's a CPO's role, and CFO manage the finance for the change. We can look at McKinsey's work published in Harvard Business School, the 7S model. Strategy, that's part of leadership in the center. The people part, talent management, is the 3 bubbles at the bottom: skills, shared value, and style. And the project management, 3 bubbles at the top: staffing, structure, and system. When these are all working together synergistically, your organization is aligned to carry out the change successfully. Another good foundation we need to learn is the Kurt Levine's freeze phases for changing people in a 3-step process. So whatever we have been doing in the past, we want to undo that first. So that's unfreezing, first step. Recognize the need for change. Second step is transitioning, attempt to create a new state of affairs. And third step is incorporate the change and the new way of doing things, refreeze the way you are doing things. So current state to the new state, you must transition. Unless you make the effort at doing this, your change journey will not be successful. And the last concept we are going to look at is the organization life cycle. So this captures the journey for a given product, given service, including ourselves. So we have a startup growth, success, bureaucracy sets in, you either renew it or you die at the end of the life cycle. So there are two inflection point where organization works on getting the reimagine the product or a service, reintroduce them by making changes, etc. If they are successful, new life cycle curve will start. If they are unsuccessful, they will keep sliding down and the product or service will disappear. And this happens and applies to us as an individual as well. We go through similar journey, and towards the end of our life, either we keep up and do proper exercise, good food habits, we can survive a little longer. If not, ready to go and meet the creator. So if you remember the previous curve, if you are on the left side of the curve, you have a ability to, you have an option to make the change. You are in a growth stage. If you are at the peak, you need to change, otherwise you are going to slide down, and you must change when you are on the decline or the death stage, right side of the curve. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and let's do some interaction. Any questions, comments? We have covered a good bit of material in terms of principles, which we have just concluded. So feel free to ask the questions so that there is nothing left in terms of ambiguity. So any questions? Okay, I see a lot of stuff in there. So Chandubai Mistri's comment is well taken. Change is the nature of life. Peter, level of leadership, VP, director, manager, not even that level. At the highest level, the chairman or the president has to lead the change. And then needs to engage the VPs, directors, managers, and they need to create the leadership at all levels in order to be successful. So Kishore has a question, how do you measure success as a part of the change management? So you set the goal for managing your change journey and use project management discipline to do the reviews on a quarterly basis. You look at what the processes are being deployed, what the results are, and are you getting the right results as targeted for that quarter? If you are not, then look at the processes where it's falling down. Okay. So Akhilesh is a question, do leaders sometimes need to lead from behind? My observation and experience is when leaders are leading from the front, that change journey is more successful. If they're from behind, somebody else is going to take charge, and that may or may not be the right strategy. So I would highly encourage leaders to lead from the front. Okay, knowingly or unknowingly, we all go through the change cycle. Yes, we have no choice. We have to follow the curve. Yeah, I should be fine. Okay, any questions or comment are most welcome at this point. Yeah, that is birds were flying in a flocks. They changed the leaders. But here what we are talking about is the change journey for an organization where the top leader is accountable and they need to bring the results. So they are the one who should be leading the charge and engaging everyone down the line so that everybody has a piece of action in the change journey. How about a leader who follows the wisdom of the crowd? Yeah, so leading doesn't mean that you don't listen to your people. You have to listen to your people as well for their ideas and then collectively put in action what makes sense for the change journey. Team buy-in is extremely important, yes, because teams and the employees are going to carry out the change. Leaders are going to create the vision for the change and provide all the resources. Yeah, so leading from behind is empowering others to drive and implement the change. And that is true to an extent, but that doesn't diminish the role of the leaders to lead from the front. So, our involuntary change is more likely to succeed than voluntary changes either way. Let's hold that question. When we cover some of the practices, you will begin to get the idea whether it's involuntary or voluntary change. Any additional questions or comments? And we are right on target. We are about halfway in the presentation at this point. And its hour is not out yet. Okay, anyone, one more comment or question, please? Seeing none, I'll go back to the presentation. This is funny. Every time I have to share. Sorry about that. I have to optimize for the video. There is one more coming up. Okay, so now we are in the change management practice part. We'll begin with the sustainability and sustainable organizations. And this is where Diana's question will have some answers already. What is the strategic view of change management, assessment, and action? And then I really want to take you through 5 different domains, how sustainable change management results are achieved in education, Harvard Business School, the corporate side, IBM, professional at ASQ, certification process, all domains, US Baldrige winners, and in the government, Egypt. Key references and 2 key takeaways from the session. So how do we define the sustainability? It is managing the triple bottom line, economic, environmental, and social. They also are referred as a profit, planet, and people. Fortunately, there are 3 international standards are there to empower organization to achieve the triple bottom line using ISO 9000 for economic, ISO 14000 for environmental, and ISO 26000 for social standards leading to sustainable development. You need all 3, not only 1 or 2, but all 3 are needed and they are interrelated as well, impact on each other. So let's look at what Charles Darwin is telling about change. He says it is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. So if you are adaptable to change, you are more likely to succeed in managing the change. Here are some statistics. More than 5,000 US publicly traded companies, which are 100 years or older, only 9%, 9.7% are there, which are still in business under the same name. Others have been wiped out or taken over by others. There are 5 factors which together result in unique corporate behaviors leading to longevity. First and foremost, organization culture. Secondly, protecting their core and unique strengths. Third, building relationship with business partner, customers, and suppliers. Investing in developing employees, including leadership succession, and they have a strong relationship with local community. If you have these 5 factors in place, you are more likely to survive for a longer time compared to the competition where they don't have all 5 factors in place. So interesting way to look at 100 corporation that will survive 100 more years, a little bit older data. And the way to look at it is none of the tech companies, the Meta and all these fancy stuff will disappear, social media, etc. The core companies doing the basic products and services, they will remain in place after 100 years. And this data was only for industrial economies, not counting other side of the world. So interestingly, McKinsey does this kind of survey periodically. They looked at around 3,200 executives from different industries and regions around the world and asked the question, what was their motivation for change? 35% of them wanted to go from good to great performance, 15% wanted to reduce the cost, and 12% wanted to turn around a crisis. So targeting success, 75% successful when the change was well-defined financial or operational terms and genuine new level of performance was projected. And the last item is very critical, the role of CEO or the leader. Value of visibility of CEO, business unit leader is 70% successful when leaders were very visible. So here you can see the affirmation that the top leadership must be leading from the front and lead the change. Survey continues how to communicate the most emphasis 63% successful. There is equal mix of emphasis on both problems and successes. And successful companies managing the change were engaging 3 times more tactics, 5.1 on an average compared to unsuccessful companies. So 2 to 6, essentially different ways they were having different tactics. And the important tactics listed and engaging the organization through ongoing communication and involvement by focusing on short-term wins, celebration of successes, and symbolic actions. These are all subtle things, but if you do all these things, you have a better chance of completing your successful change management journey. So why change program fail? Globally, only 30% of the change program are successful because underlying one of the success pillar is project management, which is a weak link. To improve your odds of transformation success, you need to have a compelling story. You need to have a role modeling by the top leader, and you need reinforcing mechanisms such as systems and processes and incentive to reward the new behavior for carry out the change, and you have to develop the capability by giving the proper skills required to make the desired changes. So why change program fail? So what motivates management doesn't necessarily motivate your employees. So good to great or turnaround story, those things can motivate everybody within the organization. And cost reduction at a US financial service company succeeded when they recast their story to include benefit to society, customers, the company, the working teams, and individuals. So it's not about just the company, but other stakeholders who are going to be impacted and benefiting from it. Then your employees are more likely to line up with the change. And another interesting point to remember is people like to write their own story instead of following the organizational script. Senior people, 250 senior managers willingly teach this program, and those who come through the program are consistently ranked higher than those who haven't, because there's a tremendous amount of interaction, give and take, and learning from the experience of the seasoned professionals within the company for a long time. So involuntary, voluntary question will come here. Companies in crisis generally do better with transformations. IBM did well with Lou Gerstner, who doesn't have any hardware, software experience. He came from the food industry. Apple, Steve Jobs had two different innings and made a tremendous mark in the technology field. Citigroup, in the short window, combined banking, insurance, and security investment firms when Citigroup was in trouble. So, to achieve transformation without a crisis will require reader to understand individual and group transform the view of the reality, and they need to meet four conditions. So, first bullet is talking about inevitable crisis, focusing on the leader's role in leading the change, and transformation without a crisis is the one we are talking about here. Everyone is both an actor and observer. Individuals need to reach the threshold of conviction about the change. They need to have direct, non-abstract experience, and they need to process that balances redundancy and control by expecting the unexpected. There are a lot of great articles from the McKinsey Quarterly, which I had reviewed and used in putting together this program. Without a crisis, couple of examples we can take a look. I'll focus on Ford Motor Company's one. So they wanted to do global transformation program. All managers should define individual interpretation of the task of the change. And they had collected teachable point of view from each session. And next set of employees will review the previous teachable point of view and add their own and continue the journey throughout the organization, which impacted Ford to reinvent and make a global transformation. Strategic view of change management. So this is another foundation slide. So any change management effort, regardless of the type of transformation, consists of both assessment and action. The first part is assessment, which identify people, the stakeholders who will be impacted by the transformation, and continually assessing the readiness of stakeholder to make the necessary transition. So identify the people who are going to be leading the change and making the change happen, and assess their readiness and provide necessary training as needed, and action, take necessary action to build support for the change, including number of items you can do, recognize them, promote them, provide additional training, help them rebuild the organization by changing processes and structure, etc. Okay, now we are going to stop and do some interaction. Is audio working okay, Aditya? Okay. There was maybe a slight glitch somewhere. Okay, experienced folks need to be provided time to learn, and mix of experience and current folks should be in a team to enforce change and implement it. Yes, good point. So you can have a wisdom of the experienced people and the enthusiasm of the new people, blend them together. That will make a good combination to continue to work on the change and implement the change. Thank Prasant. Okay, Diane, do you think it will be worthwhile to create an atmosphere of crisis to better ensure successful change? Yeah, so to answer this question, so sometimes the crisis is already within the organization, so you don't have to create one. Secondly, leaders who are smart, they may create a crisis and align people with it. So both things are possible. Uh, if you do it in an artificial way, then you need to be sure that you are telling people that why you are doing it, for cost cutting, better revenue, better positioning compared to competition, etc. So the communication is the foundation. If you do it properly and explain to your people, they are with you. If you do it secretly and just do it without the knowledge of your people, at the end of the day, they will figure it out and they won't help you any further from that point on. Additional questions, comments, let's keep coming in. Well, that's managing the household, including the kids, is a major challenge. Everybody goes through it, and it's rough for the first child where we don't have any experience, so we make the rules as we go. I can tell you from my personal experience, I was very hard with my older son for his studies, insist on getting everything done. But once he came in high school and I saw him around 1 or 2 o'clock still doing his homework, I let him go, do whatever he thought was appropriate. So I think parents can set an example. If you are systematic and if you are doing things the right way, children learn from it. And the home environment is the best way to train them. Give them support, find out what they are good at, and let them go. And allow them to succeed in the ventures and the areas where they have more interest, rather than forcing them to do things which doesn't interest them, because at the end it won't do anything to them. Okay, what role consultant play in change management? Yeah, so the consultants have a role in change management in terms of guiding the leadership to stay the course, because leaders are pulled in so many different directions, they lose the focus. So the role of the consultant is to make sure they are walking the straight path. But if consultants keep doing the work for the leaders, that is not a good thing. Their role is more like an advisory role, bring in some resources and provide the guidance and provide a frank opinion, are things going in the right direction or not? If not, put them in the straight line. So making a change from crisis is not right. Having meaningful discussion in the middle of contradiction is the way to go. So the crises are already upon us. There's no other way except manage the change, right? To tackle the crisis head on. But having a meaningful discussion is important, and listening to different viewpoints, but then the leader has to use his or her judgment to ensure that what is the best for the organization, and everybody buys into that view so that journey can proceed. Additional comments? Let's keep going. I think we have good flow here. And time-wise, we are doing well. So Diane is saying, I'm thinking of transitioning from EU MDD to EU MDR. Don't think change is effective. Multiple deadline threads would have worked better. Yeah, so I think you have to look at the fundamental thing, why you are doing the change and how you are doing the change. Are leaders involved in it, or is it just the delegation given to somebody who is down the line, not the top person? So look at some of the things we already discussed and focus on 5 questions. If those 5 questions leaders do not ask, there's a great chance that the change journey will get derailed. Okay, contradictions can arise from the differences in context. Yeah, that's where leaders needs to be very straightforward, provide the proper context why this change is happening. And I've seen that thing being done well and not done well at when I was with AT&T Bell Labs. So those leaders who were successful, they were quite open and frank, and they shared everything in terms of what the context was and why we are doing this, why we are doing it now, and how it will be done and what impact it will have. Other times, leaders did not follow the process, and then the change did not work out at all, and it was essentially waste of effort. And all of you should have similar experience looking at your own industry, your own domain, because that's what happens. One more comment or a question, then we'll move on. Aditya, any questions or comment as a host? Okay, hearing none, I'll keep moving. I'll take that question when we come to the next phase. So now I want to share with you some real life examples of sustainable change management results. So Harvard Business School completed 100 years in 2008, IBM in 2011, ASQ certification process, Egyptian Export Help Desk 2010 example, and US Baldrige winners from 88 to 2024, multiple awards, major transformations. So let's take each one of them and see what unique thing they accomplished to sustain the change and put them in business for a long time. So 1908, Harvard Business School was started to do the research, teaching, and publishing. So the original vision was to help people make a decent profit decently. That was their vision. And the mission they changed was to educate leaders who make a difference in the world. So they've done a number of innovative things at Harvard Business School, case method research in 1920, publishing outreach 22, faculty from diverse backgrounds, technology friendly. They gave computers to everyone in 1966. 1980, second school in the US to issue computer to all students. So I take it back 1980. Globalization 1909, they started enrolling foreign students, and some of the alumni are essentially leading their own nation when they go back. And remarkable leaders as alumni. The alumni have given tremendous amount of funding, so they have the largest amount of endowment for Harvard Business School and Harvard University, and they are ready to tackle the next 100 years of their life and the journey. So IBM, known also as a Big Blue, started in October 1911 by Thomas J. Watson Sr. In the first 100 years, they introduced new technology for time clocks, butcher scales, and coffee grinders to punch card machines and typewriter to tape storage, mainframe and personal computer, and acquiring PricewaterhouseCoopers, the consulting arm, and now to smart social media. So their biggest thing is motto is to think. And they not only survived the depression of 1929 and several recessions, but made the technological shift among intense competition. And they have the ability to move into new businesses without abandoning the core tenets. And core tenets is the think. So here is a live example of how quality and tools can be used to improve the result notification interval for ASQ exams, certification exams. So back in December 88, I took the test, CQE, Certified Quality Engineer, that promised in the brochure that it will take 8 weeks, and I got my results at the 13th week. So being in the quality field, working at AT&T Bell Labs, I volunteered to join the certification committee at the headquarters level. And with the help of the certification manager, then Sally Arthan, she is retired now, we formed a very small team to start looking at why it takes so long to get the results. And keep in mind, in those days, it was all paper exams. So the all different certifications, there are a number of them now. They were given on a paper, and those papers were flying all over the world with the ASQ sections and international groups as well. So once the exams are done, papers will come back to the headquarters, sent to Milwaukee, from Milwaukee to Madison for grading and scoring. And the entire process was tedious. So we started to take a look at how do we ensure that the cycle time comes down. And that's where they bought the Scantron machine at the headquarters with the $1 million investment. And by the way, this certification process is a money generating for ASQ. So it paid off in the long term, and removing all the bottlenecks by looking at the overall process using Motorola's cycle time reduction strategy and applying AT&T's quality improvement methodology, we're able to bring down from 13 weeks to 3 weeks between 88 to 93. And of course, after that, the exams are now online and you get instant results. Now, second item, the blue line is the capacity, number of people taking tests tripled during that window, 2196 to 6302. So not only the cycle time for result notification was improved tremendously, but the capacity tripled as well. So that this is a classic example of cycle time reduction. If you can do this in your organization, your leadership will be willing to give you more and more funding to do similar type of work and get great results for your organization. We were written up in the Quality Progress magazine in 1993, and it was discussed at the board of directors meeting as well, with an example of use of quality tools to apply for the ASQ processes as well. So this is a work done in 2010 with the Egyptian government people. So one of the team was looking at a export from Egypt to US, doubling it in 4 years. Whatever was the amount at the beginning of the journey, to change it to double the amount of export within 4 years. So on the left-hand side, if you were an exporter in Egypt, you have to go through so many different agencies. Then they came up with a neat idea of having an export help desk where you go on the right side contact the export help desk, and depending on your need, they will direct you to meet with the agency on the right side, and only meet with people you need to meet with, not with everyone. And this was a successful way of managing the knowledge management portal to carry out the export, and they were able to implement it with great results. So we talked about US Baldrige criteria. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. Just to review, there are 7 categories. Leadership is the first one, leading the change with a focus on results at the end of the day, strategic planning, customer focus, measurement analysis, knowledge management, workforce focus, and operations focus. And large number of winners have been declared so far, 142 from 88 to 2024. And I've highlighted 4 organizations which have won 3 Baldrige Awards. So Baldrige Award is again to think of the metaphor. It's like going to Mount Everest and conquer the peak. And for 5 years, they cannot reapply after they get the award in the same category. So AT&T got 3 where I worked, manufacturing 1 and 2 in service. Cargill 1 in small business, 2 in manufacturing. There was 1 through acquisition. Mesa 3 awards, small businesses. Midway USA in the service area 3 awards. And rest of the organizations received 2 awards, which is a remarkable feat. So if you want to follow the journey and their example, I have given the link here, nist.gov/Baldrige, go to award winners, and 1990 onward, there is a 60 to 75 page summary of their winning application, which you can get into for 7 categories and learn from the experience of how they did the transformation. So now I'm bringing the presentation home, change management lessons to remember. So you should remember one acronym only, AMA. Ability determines what you are capable of doing. Motivation will determine how you do it, but it's the attitude that determines how well you do it. So for your successful change, you need to have a positive attitude and definitely good motivation and good ability. You need to engage your heart, the emotions, the head, the ideas and logic, and hands. You have to roll up your sleeve and implement the change. Leadership is the catalyst of change. It's all about influencing, igniting, and inspiring ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And this is important in the context of change management. Leadership ability is to translate vision into action, and action into next level of vision for sustainable change management. So we are in for a short YouTube. Change is good, you go first. So let's enjoy that, and then we'll pick up the question and answers. Lots of great references. Carter's three, four books, Lencioni's several books, Kurt Levine's Freeze Phases, etc. And I've written a few items on the sustainable change management as well. So now is the time for action. Write down two key takeaways from the session, which you will take a look at it once you are back at your workplace, and try to do something meaningful for your organization. And ready for questions, so I'll stop sharing. And Aditya, you have to help me now. So Angie had a question. Okay, that's an interesting question. Any guidance or thought on how much time is needed to implement a change, and how do you know it is too rushed? Okay, so it will depend on the type of change you want to implement. And this is where a tremendous amount of planning has to be done by the top leader working with the immediate support people like CEO, working with the president, the vice presidents, etc. Map out and do the work breakdown structure so project management can come in handy, and then use the Gantt chart to map out all the critical areas needed to be touched upon to carry out the change, then recruit the right people, make them responsible to carry out those different tasks, subtasks needed to be done on a timely basis. And don't forget to review them every quarter and ensure that proper work is getting done with the use of a process. Okay, there are some good comments coming in. Thank you, Chandubai. Excellent insight into change management. Akhilesh, Baldrich used to talk about a lot back in mid-80s. Why do you not hear about it as much? Except in the healthcare industry, Baldrige is very, very popular, and lots of healthcare companies, hospitals are applying for it and doing great work. Are the slides available? Yes, Aditya has the PDF file. He will share it with everyone, those who attended. Okay, Patricia, Thanks for the presentation, enjoyable and inspiring. Rachel, thank you. Tofilio, great presentation. Thank you for sharing. Karina, great presentation. Looking for any questions or takeaways. So this is the perfect example. Diane is saying leverage project management skill toward achievement of change. Good point. Champion honestly throughout the change management process. Good. Write down at least one key takeaway. If possible, write two. And we have time. You have 25 more minutes to spare. So if you are willing to do that, others can learn from it as well. And most important, whatever you are learning today, take some of it and start sharing it with your colleagues and higher up, upward delegations, so that something meaningful can be done for your organization. So whatever time you have spent, make good use of it. Manuel, thank you. Enjoy takeaways on companies such as IBM and the reasons for success. Very good. Thank you, Jack. Akhilesh, lessons, share success with the team, recognize where it is due. Yep, good. Keep going. Aditya, your key takeaways. You put in a lot of effort and time, so I want to thank you for facilitating this session and helping me on the technical aspects. Follow a framework such as a Baldrige. Yes, it's there for a long time and it's very, very useful in all domain. And I particularly incorporate that in my teaching MBA classes on quality management, even in supply chain management, as well as in project management courses. Thank you, Ajay. Looking for any questions from the last part of the presentation. Okay, so Akhilesh, there is a email out right now to become the examiner. The application window is open. So you should call the Baldrige office in Washington, D.C., and you will be able to get the input on how to go about. I generally have no interest anymore at this time, so I deleted all the email coming in. But I know for sure the window is open. You have to go through the application process, and if you are selected, you will become the examiner. Okay. Thank you, Robert. Added on my reading list by dysfunction of a team. Okay. Patrick, thank you. Any substantial question? Ned, 3M Dental won the National Baldrige in 97, taken away because that business merged with a company that didn't win the award. Generally, they don't do that. I don't know what the reason is behind. So sorry, I don't have any comment on that. Normally, they don't do that. Any more key takeaway? You almost spent hour and 40 minutes with me, so at least write down one key takeaway. And there are 55 people still hanging in there. Okay, we'll wait for a couple of minutes. If not, we'll start closing in so people can go ahead and do whatever they need to do. Okay, Akhilesh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Angie, involvement of leadership is critical. That's a good point. Organizations have to change to survive, evolve. Rachel, that's a good comment and a good takeaway. Still looking for few good key takeaways, if not any questions or comments. Sustain the change, yes, very critical. Okay, Karina, keep writing. I'm looking at the chat here. Okay, looks like this is from Aditya. Visualize the change, then plan, prepare, and implement the change, and look for its effectiveness. Philo agree with the change management should be supported by top management leadership, otherwise it would surely fail. Excellent point. Joe, leadership critical to the vision of the change, team buy-in critical to success of the change. Well put. Thanks, Joe. Christina, the change will be seen differently depending on the organization, but still the role of the leadership is paramount. And if they do all the right things, you are more likely to succeed in any organization to carry out the change. Yeah, this is a additional wrinkle Diane is pointing out. It'll be interesting to see how developing a synergy with AI is managed as significant societal change. It's a new dimension still emerging, so remain to be seen. Karina, anyone can become an agent for change. Anyone can be a change management leader. It all starts at home even, yes. But for a given organization, the top leaders should become the leader of the change. Provide the vision, provide the resources, ensure that the right people are working the right issues, do the evaluation, constant reviews, don't micromanage, macromanagement, but they need to be visible, they need to be involved, committed, supportive through and through. Otherwise, no chance of success. And I've seen this in last 40 years in many domains. When people just keep talking, things fail. Keeping employees engaged during the change by involving them is critical and give them a sense of ownership and reduce resistance. Miriam, good point. Because they are the one carrying out the change at the direction of the top leaders. Yeah, a couple of more minutes we'll try, see if anybody wakes up and gets the key takeaway. Leaders should be able to transcribe their vision to the team. Yes, communication is fundamental. Akhilesh, small wins need to be recognized. These are also interim milestones, something you pointed out in your earlier slide. And this can build the momentum towards a visualized goal. Yes, it's a journey. And in order for everyone to be engaged and energized, small wins can make a bigger difference and celebration on a periodic basis. Okay, one more minute. It's 9:44 my time. At 9:45, we'll start doing the closing. Back to Aditya at that point after a minute. 7:45 on the West Coast. And of course, morning time in India and Pakistan, and late evening in Peru, if my friends have joined from ASQ Peru. Yes, Joe, small win add up over time. Yes, small win leads to big ones down the road. Okay, looks like the flow has stopped. One last item, Robert, give leadership no matter where you are in the organization for change. Yes. So this is what the role of the real top leader is, because the top leaders are going to select the right people to have the right positions to carry out the different aspect of change. And then those people step up and take the lead on the item assigned to them. So leadership through and through the organization is very important. Thank you, Chandubai, for your invite. And it's always a pleasure to share some thoughts with our ASQ friends. And thanks once again to Aditya for organizing it. So back to you, Aditya, and you can do the closing. You are muted. You're still muted. Can you unmute yourself? No sound. No sound. Want to bring in Chandubai to do the closing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I think it's better. Go ahead, Aditya.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Vora. I think it was an excellent presentation, very informative. Some of the examples and the points you presented was very detailed and very clear to understand. So thanks a lot. It was very engaging as well. We kept the audience engaged. That's I appreciate your time. Uh, and I would like to thank you everyone who attended. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Everybody had takeaways from this great topic, change management, from our esteemed speaker, from Dr. Manu Vora. And I encourage everyone to continue joining those ASQ calls. We'll try to continue to have good topics, good speakers. So I encourage everyone to please continue joining and stay engaged. Anybody has any comment, question?
Yeah, thanks, Aditya, for your leadership and taking charge for the program. Appreciate that help, and wish all the people who have attended all the best, and a lot of learning to be done and a lot of things to be implemented. So take it back home and do something with it. If you don't do anything with it, it will disappear, no matter what you did for 45 hour and 45 minutes. Definitely put it in action. Thank you once again, and I'm going to sign off now. It's getting 9:48 here my side.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vora.
Okay,
Thank
good
you,
luck
everyone.
all of
Thank
you,
you.
and all the best.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.